Hey there, Heather Boyd Wire here, and today it's Tip Tuesday. So today I'm going to show you how to make some super funky rings with the rubber O-ring washers. So what you're going to need for the rings are your O-rings. I actually bought a kit on Amazon. I'll link it up below. I have my wire, 20 gauge and also 18 gauge wire. We have our tools, flat pliers, round pliers, cutters, and a ring cone, and a variety of beads. I have my 8mm miracle beads that I love, and 4mm, 6mm, and I have some smaller crimp beads. They're about 2.5 to 3 millimeters that I'm going to also use. So to make this one, I'm going to start with 2 pieces of 24 gauge wire. I'm going to string 3 beads on both of these wires. So we're going to put 1, 2, 3. I'll put all 3 beads on there, and we're going to center them on the wires. And then what we want to do is separate them. So just where they're centered, just separate the wires so we have them like that. And then same on this side, we're just going to spread them out so it looks like that. And then what you want to do is attach it to the O-ring. So we're just going to hook the O-ring in there. Okay, and then what we want to do is just bring this around to the other side. So push it a little bit if you have to. Okay, we're going to do that. And then this one too, just hold it in place, wind it around and around, and then you can kind of like push them kind of straight out like that. So we're winding them like around and then out at a bit of an angle, around and then out at a bit of an angle. So then we'll attach it to this band of thicker wire. This is the 18 gauge wire. So we're just going to cut a piece of the 18 gauge wire, say 2 to 3 inches, and wind it around the ring cone. So bring it around here, right around the ring cone, and then you can start by cutting one end flush and forming a little loop. This is exactly how I make the rings in the Rings to Make and Sell video. It's just a nice base that you can attach any bead to. So we're just going to bring that one around here and then out so it's kind of centered. And then you want to figure out how wide the band has to be, you know, where you want this to sit. And then from there you're going to make another one of these loops on this side. So we're going to take this one, bend it out at an angle there, and then bring this around to form a loop. So we've got our basic shape there, and then we can just give that one a little clip. This loop doesn't have to be super big because the 24 gauge wire is quite thin. So just bring that in, make sure it's nicely positioned. You can always put it back on the ring cone just to get it in place. This might end up being a big ring, but like I said, you're just going to have to gauge depending on how big your finger is. So now we're going to take this and just push these both wires down, and we're going to put them through the little loop. So put this one, make sure you hold these 2 ends together, put them in there, and then this one too, hold the 2 ends together and put them in there. So just push it right down, and then once that's snug, then you're going to take these 2 ends and wrap them around. So just, you can do them separately or you can do them both at the same time. So I would wrap it around probably about 3 times. So bring that one around there, and then this one too. So pull it snugly, straighten these out, and then wrap it through here 3 times. If you have trouble gripping it, just grab your flat pliers to bring it around. If you have trouble to hold it, and then we're just going to push this through a third time, bring it around, and then give this a little clip on top. So we'll just clip it there, and this one too. We're just gonna clip it on that side, and then you can just twist it a bit to tighten it up. Just a little flick of the wrist to tighten it up. And then I always like to put it back on the ring cone. You can adjust the O-ring if it's kind of gone out of place, and there you have your super cool O-ring ring. So this is the one my husband liked the best. It's a very simple one. We're going to take a piece of the 20 gauge wire, and then I'm going to put on the little crimp bead. It's about 3 millimeters, and then the 8 millimeter miracle bead and another crimp bead. And then what you want to do is just cut that so it's flush, and then we're going to take our round pliers and just turn it around. So that's going to go around the O-ring. And then we're going to take this O-ring and just slide it in there so it fits right in there. Flip it over and pinch that end so it's secured in place. And then we're just going to make sure it's centered, and we're going to do the same thing over here. So make sure it's centered, bring it around. Try to make sure the O doesn't get distorted, and then we're going to take this, give it a little clip, then you can just pinch it in place so it's nicely centered. And then we're going to take some 18 gauge wire and make a very simple band. So we're just going to bring this one around the ring form. We'll just clip this end so it's flush, and then get our round pliers again. Take this and wind it back. So we're just going to wind it back so that's going to fit around the O-ring. And then we're going to take the O-ring and make sure this line is vertical, and just slide that one like that. Make sure it's centered there, and then take your flat pliers and push it down. And then you want to make sure this is going to be like your correct ring size, and then wherever you think this side should be, we're going to bend that one around too. So just take your round pliers, bring it up, just bring it up like that. It is going to come like a little bit or more around here. And then you can always like clip it to say 1/2 to 1/4 of an inch if you're not sure. Bring it in there, and then just, you know, make sure it's the size that you want. Sometimes it's easier to have a little end you can grab onto, and then just bring it down so it's like that, and then we can clip it. So we're just going to clip that in there, and then we could pinch it in so it's flush. So just bend that, push this one in here, then you put it on the ring form. Just make sure it's nicely adjusted, and there you have your very simple washer ring. So now I'm going to do one with some twirly wire around the bead. So for that, we're going to take 18 gauge wire just to make the basic form of the ring. You can really do all kinds of variations with this design. So we're just going to do a basic 18 gauge wire band, give it a little clip so it's flush. Take this one, round pliers, wind it around here, and then your O-ring is just going to fit right in there. And you're going to push this one down so it's snug. And then you're going to figure out, you know, the size that you want your ring, and then you can bend it up here. So we're going to just bend it straight up, and then just trim it a little bit so it's easier to get through there, say about 1/4 inch. Bring it in here. Just take this end and bring it down. So we're just going to bring this right down and then you can clip that flush. Give it a little clip. Make sure this is centered. Just have a look at it, make sure it looks like it's more or less centered, and then you can go ahead and give that one a little pinch. Okay, and you can always put this back on the ring form to make sure it's all right. So now you want to attach the bead, so just stick a 20 gauge wire in a 8mm bead, or any bead that you have, and we're just going to bend the wire around this way, sort of like clockwise, and the same thing with the underneath wire, bend it around clockwise. So we've got a full turn around, so it looks something like that. So you want this one kind of pointing down a bit and this one pointing up a little bit. Looks like that. You could do more twists if you want. This is just sort of a basic design. So then you're just going to slide it on top here. These are a little bit too long, so you can always trim them. You're just going to hold that in place and then twist this through the band. So take that, grab your flat pliers, it's going to be easier to grip. Just bend it around about 2 to 3 times, just so you like the look of it. You can tighten it up after, and then once you're happy with the wind, just cut it like when it's on the top there. So then we're going to do the same thing here. If it's too long, give it a little clip, bring it through the band, and then wind it around a few times. If you need the pliers to grip it, go ahead and do that, and then just bring it through 2 to 3 times, however you like the look, and we'll be able to tighten it after. And then just give it a little trim, and then you could use your flat pliers just to tighten it up a little bit. So just make sure these are squeezed together, careful not to scratch the wire. And the same thing, just bring these ends in. If you have to tighten it, you just pinch it a bit and give it a little flick of the wrist, and then you can put it back on the ring cone just like that, and then play around with it so it's nicely centered. And you'll see the O-ring is flexible, but it's kind of cool. And there you have another funky ring with the O-ring. So I wasn't going to do a tutorial for this one because I wasn't sure about it, but my husband really liked it, so let's go for it. Our O-ring here and some 20 gauge wire, and I'm going to put a small metal bead, my 8mm miracle bead, and another small metal bead here, and we'll just start by attaching it to the O-ring. So we're just going to take this one side and wrap it around. So we'll just bring that one in here and bring that in and just wrap it right around. So this is going to be our basic kind of shape thing, and then we want to make sure this is centered. So we're going to just bring this to that side, make sure it's centered, and then wrap this one around. So I wouldn't use any thicker than a 20 gauge for this. It's a little stiff, maybe even go for a 22, and then you can just like adjust this a little bit to make sure it's centered. And then we're going to do our basic ring form. So that's your starting point, and then we're going to get some 18 gauge wire, and we'll get our ring cone, and we're just going to wind it around 3 times. So this is going to be your basic ring shape. So we're just going to wind it around about 3 times, and just decide what finger you want to have this on. It's going to be maybe a little bit bigger ring, so just, you know, put it to the position that you want. And then what you need to do is do a couple of loops. So we're going to take our round pliers and do 1 loop here. So we're just going to bring this one around and do a little loop there and trim it and just pinch it flat. And then just make sure this is sort of in the position that you want. Make sure it's like even, and then you want this loop to be directly underneath that loop. So take your round pliers again, bring this one around here, and before you clip it, just make sure it's centered underneath that one. Okay, so we're going to go like that, and then give it a trim, and use your flat pliers to bring that and close it up. You want that loop to be closed, and same thing here, you want the loop to be closed. So then what we're going to do is get our O-ring that's already prepared, and we want to put a wire through each of those loops. So we're going to bring that one down here and bring the wire right through those loops. And these wires are really long, so you can definitely clip them. And then you want to bring it down, but through just the first wire. And we're just going to bring it through that first wire. Take your pliers and bring it around, and then I would bring it through a couple of times to make sure it's more solid. So bring it a couple of times. Same thing on this side. So just make sure it's right in there. Trim it how you like, and then just bring this one through that first wire. Make sure it doesn't go to the second one. So if it does, just back it up and bring it through here, and then through again like that. Tighten it up and give that one a little clip, and this one too a little clip. This one's actually pretty easy to make. It's not complicated, it's just maybe a little fiddly to adjust. So bring that one in if you have to, adjust it, and then put it back on the ring cone to be a little bit more. Adjust it, kind of pinch it a little bit if you have to, get it to sit properly. And there you have your super funky O-ring with the triple band. So to make this a ring with all the O-rings that go all around your finger, you're going to need 24 gauge wire. I cut about an 8-inch piece, and you're going to start by finding the middle part, and you want to make a little loop. So we're just going to make a little loop at the end here. This is where we're going to do our finishing. So the loop doesn't have to be very big, just like that. And then hold it in place and just wind this one around. And then what you want to do is you want to be able to slide your O-ring in there. So just make it a little bit kind of curved so there's room for the O-ring. Okay. Just take your 4mm bead. This is a miracle bead, and then this is a 3/8 of an inch washer. So we're going to put that one there, and then just bring it out a little bit. Take the end, go over the O-ring. One of the wires is under. This one is going to go over, and then through the hole of the bead, just in there. So hold it in place, and then when the wire comes out, it has to go over the O-ring. So the O-ring is sandwiched between the two wires, and then you're going to push it down all the way down to the end, and it's going to just sit in place. And then we want to do the same thing again. So on the underneath wire, take your miracle bead, stick it on there, and then again place the O-ring on top, and the top wire has to go over the O-ring into the hole of the bead, and then when it comes out, it has to go over the O-ring. So the O-ring sandwich in between. We're just going to bring it all the way down, and you're going to just go around and put however many O-rings you need to go around your finger. Just going to bring it around the ring cone, and then you can put these ends through that loop, okay, and then just tie it up tight. So once it's right down to the end, you can just take these ends, bend it up, and you can go ahead and put them back through the O-ring there to secure them in place. Get your flat pliers. The 24 gauge wire is a little fragile, but this is super fun. It would be harder to do with thicker wire because it would be hard to get it through the beads, but it's sort of a novelty ring. It's really cute. So we're going to bring this one through here and wind it through a couple of times. Again, just because it's 24 gauge, it is a little bit fragile, but it's super cool. So we're going to bring this one around here and then tighten these up, and you can clip the ends. Just clip the ends there. Pinch them in if you need to, and then get your ring cone, and just, it's all in the finishing touches, so just bring it on the ring cone, play around with it. These kind of move around a little bit, but that's okay. This is going to be at the back, so it's not going to really show. And there you have a super funky ring with beads all the way around. It's a little chunky, but it's cool. So thanks so much for watching the video. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more wire art and jewelry making videos. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I go live and when I post new videos. And if you'd like to share pictures of your wire creations and be inspired by others, be sure to join the Wire Makers Club on Facebook. And if you'd like to check out my work on Etsy, my husband and I specialize in custom wire wedding cake toppers and unique jewelry. I also send out a monthly newsletter, so if you'd like to sign up below, I'll send you my Wire Art Essentials ebook, where I give a list of my supplies and materials and a few tips. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you the next time.